Paper, big deal. They can have the paper.
And people just have decided, like we did, to use that as a form of currency to represent our actual wealth, which is actually, ironically enough, supposed to be in Fort Knox.
Well, yeah, the last time that was audited was in the Eisenhower administration, and only 10%. Eisenhower. And then at that point, the only amount that was audited was supposed to represent 10% of what was in the holdings at Fort Knox. That was the last time there's ever been an audit.
So we don't even know what's in Fort Knox.
Yeah. The problem with all central banks is that they begin to write their own rules. And government, because it's basically out of control, trying to maintain the representation in central government is trying to maintain its position, it's trying to stay in place. It will borrow, if at all possible, against the nation to create a...
Well, wait a minute, you're getting over my head. I want to go with what we went to a conference, and Bob Schultz, I want you to go as simple as what he said about how much it costs to actually... Do you remember that, or can you... 2 cents for a bill,
yeah,
right?
about 2 cents to create a piece of paper and the ink on it, yeah.
Okay, so they print a $100 bill, cost $3 to do this because of the ink and stuff. And if they have a whole sheet of hundreds, that goes to the Treasury Department.
And they buy it back.
They buy it.
Right. So, for the cost of production, and then they distribute it through the Federal Reserve branch banks to be made available to be loaned out to people at interest.
Now hang on. So what he said was, actually it was the Treasury says we need some money. So the Federal Reserve, they print it.
Well, they have bonds.
For
they
$2.
Create bonds.
Well, they buy it at face value, though.
Yeah.
Not the cost of the printing.
Federal Reserve gets it for $2. Yeah. Then they turn around and sell it because it's $100 bills
to our government.
At
face value.
At face value. So
plus
if it's $500.
Yeah.
So they pay $2 to get it. They sell it for $5 plus interest.
Well, it could be $1,000. It could be whatever is printed on there. It cost them 2 cents to print it, and you're paying face value. I mean, that's what kind of stealing?
And this is supposed to be our own government that's supposed to control the money supply. So we're basically paying interest on our own money.
Right.
That's got to be the most perfect scam ever. Here, let me just write out, print something up, and give it. You pay me $1,000. It cost me 2 cents to make this little piece of paper, and you're going to cost.
Oh yeah, we would all love to be in that racket.
Well,
and how could they sell that to? How could they sell that to?
Christine, add to that the fact that when that money, quote unquote, currency, quote unquote, note, promise to pay. See how you get hung by the tongue, folks?
Yep.
When that's loaned out, they don't create the paper to supply the interest on the use of that money.
Right.
Where does that come from?
Yeah.
You see, this is the confiscatory activity that takes place that eventually erodes all of the real wealth and the initiative. This is why Stalin could say, if I can corrupt the money supply of any nation, I can corrupt the entire nation. You see, because it is the money which is untrustworthy, which eventually drives all of a population into immoral behavior, because there is no basic trust.
So, Jim, this has to come back. I know everybody's probably thinking, how can our Congress be so stupid? I mean, now, that's got to be the perfect synopsis of stupid politics. How could they ever be so stupid to hand over the responsibility of coining gold and silver to a bank?
Yeah.
To a few.
And we're not allowed to, what I've read, because I have just found out about the Federal Reserve, because it is a big scam in the sense that it kept us quiet. And most Americans, we don't understand all of this, and I'm learning it, and you guys have helped me tremendously. And we can't go to these board meetings. They're not public, right?
That's true.
Private. It's a private bank. It's a private organization, so they don't answer to us, but they're the ones that are loaning us our own money with interest.
Most of the Class A stockholders do not reside in the continental United States, and the names of the Class A stockholders are not published. They are not known.
And why we're talking about this, I want to say this, so it's very important, because we'll keep going, but what's so important is all of this, even if you don't believe what has happened this weekend, the end of March, it's not aired live right now, but what's happened is the government, the president, I think it was, has put out a bill to give this agency more powers because of the bubbles and stuff. They want to fool you. So this agency, we already can do all this stuff, and if you don't, do your own research if you don't believe it. But before you would think that they'd give them more power, don't we have to look at some of these issues with these bubbles? Because from my understanding, or I've been told, so I will have to talk about, is the Fed creates these bubbles, and I don't understand all that. But I want people to know it's very important, because what they're doing is whether you agree with this agency, you need to look into it, because the government is planning to give them full powers of our money. It just came out this week.
The goal is to eliminate. They have, and this supply and demand needs to fit in here too a little bit. What is happening at this point is that Bernanke, the brilliant man that
Bernanke is the federal, he's the chairman, is he not, of the Federal Reserve?
Yes, is defacing or devaluing the dollar, rather, okay? And by doing that, when something becomes less valuable when there's more of it.
Right.
So when they print these tons of sheets,
there's more
my
of it.
dollar is going downhill.
Down, yes, the value of it. To put it in layman terms, let's set up a small scenario. We have one grocery store in the state of Indiana, okay? Everybody in the state of Indiana needs groceries, but we only have one store, okay? Now everybody knows that the store exists. They can increase the price of their food, and what are you going to do about it?